Dr. Russell Reiter has authored over 1,600 articles on melatonin and clearly the world's expert on melatonin. I heard a podcast between him and Dr. Mercola and it was riveting. At 86, he's still very, very sharp. He shared some valuable insights on cardiovascular disease, cancer, virus protection, and aging. Before we get into a summary of that discussion, let's remember that all chronic disease has major oxidative stress and free radical damage accompanies it. So anytime we can do things to support the body's ability to increase antioxidants naturally is high on our radar. Also high on our radar is anything that will support or enhance mitochondrial health. And melatonin supports mitochondrial function in multiple ways. We know that if cells don't have enough energy to repair, they function at suboptimum levels. If cells function at suboptimum levels, we have fatigue, brain fog, concentration issues, inflammation, etc. With that in mind, melatonin not only has independent and direct antioxidant effects on its own, but because it's a hormone, it signals or stimulates the synthesis of glutathione and other important antioxidants like superoxide dismutase and catalase. Our bodies make two forms of melatonin. The pineal gland produces about 5% of the total melatonin in the body, which is secreted into our blood and it's produced at night. The rest of the melatonin is made in our mitochondria and then it stays in our mitochondria. Supplemental melatonin will migrate into the mitochondria as needed. One of the things I didn't know was that near infrared spectrum from regular sun exposure will trigger the generation of melatonin inside your mitochondria. Remember, inside the mitochondria is where the action is. ATP is made and stored, and free radicals are a huge part of the process. The half-life of melatonin in the blood is about 40 minutes. Once swallowed, melatonin enters the bloodstream very quickly. However, within cells, the half-life varies according to the oxidative stress that's ongoing. If there's high oxidative stress, melatonin is destroyed much faster. If there's low oxidative stress, melatonin stays within the cell much longer. Dr. Reiter points out that someone with a heart attack or stroke would benefit from melatonin because of the oxidative damage done to the heart or brain involves massive free radicals. Knowing the powerful effects of melatonin's antioxidant capacity, two of his friends who have diabetes take 1,000 milligrams per day to combat the oxidative damage. He shared that there were probably better ways to treat the underlying cause, but the point he was making was that there's no toxic level of melatonin. He's quick to say that there's much we don't know about high doses for long periods, but based on his research, he hasn't seen any danger from short high doses. Also, melatonin is an antiviral agent. He shared that there's about 200 publications in the scientific literature suggesting use of melatonin for COVID. He knows a physician colleague who gave 1 milligram per kilogram of melatonin for COVID cases at the time of diagnosis and for 5 days afterwards. He has now treated more than 2,000 patients very successfully with melatonin. He mentioned it's also been effective for both Delta and Omicron strains. In pigs, 4 different coronaviruses were successfully treated. Also, Zika virus toxicity was prevented by melatonin. He's personally been taking melatonin for 28 years. Currently at 86, he takes about 80 milligrams, but has taken as much as 300 milligrams. He divides his dose in the evening and takes the first dose of melatonin about 45 minutes before he wants to go to sleep, and then the second dose about 15 minutes before sleep. Even higher doses can be split up by taking them upon arising, at 10 a.m., at 4 p.m., and at bedtime, to avoid upsetting one's circadian rhythm. He went on to discuss how melatonin blocks Warburg-type metabolism, which accompanies most cancers and other inflammatory conditions. Glucose, which contains 6 carbons, is metabolized to a 3-carbon molecule called pyruvate. Pyruvate should be metabolized via the Krebs cycle and electron transport chain in the mitochondria to make acetyl-CoA. Acetyl-CoA is needed to make melatonin. The Warburg effect prevents pyruvate from going into the Krebs cycle. Instead, pyruvate is shunted into glycolysis, which yields 2 units of ATP versus 36 units of ATP that are generated from the Krebs cycle and electron transport chain. Lactic acid is the end product of glycolysis, and we know cancer cells love an acidic environment. Interestingly, the Warburg effect stops at night when melatonin levels are elevated via the pineal gland. Other researchers have found melatonin to be effective against cancer in multiple ways. Keep in mind, Dr. Reiter was sharing the safety and use in extreme cases. Low-dose melatonin is also effective. According to my friend and colleague, Dr. Bergson, the work of the National Cancer Institute and National Institute of Health sponsored study showed a 0.75 milligram was effective for cancer prevention. So smaller doses can have powerful effects as well. Remember, melatonin is a hormone that signals intercellular organelles to make glutathione, SOD, etc. You can hear the whole interview by clicking to the right. You can also see an earlier Tuesday Minute that went into more detail. Melatonin, B6, magnesium by Biotics Research is a 3 milligram melatonin that also contains 10 milligrams of B6 as P5P and 50 milligrams of magnesium glycinate to help convert glutamate to GABA. We know melatonin levels drop dramatically as we age. It has anti-cancer benefits, cardiovascular benefits, antiviral benefits, anti-inflammatory benefits, and anti-aging benefits. So it makes sense to increase melatonin levels via sunshine and supplementation. Thanks for joining me today. I look forward to being with you again next Tuesday.